Hi, so this is my third and final TED Talk, and for this round my class is talking about our strengths. And a quick background about what we've been doing. We all bought and read the book Strength Finders 2.0 by Tom Rath, and then went online and took an assessment. And based on this assessment, we're given a personalized report that identifies our strengths. And my strengths are learner, futurist, activator, responsibility, and discipline. And the whole idea of this program is that once you identify your strengths, instead of focusing on your weaknesses, you take what you're good at and then maximize it, and you can accomplish a lot more. And for each of these strengths, we created a strength statement that starts with I feel strong when, because a strength is something that you feel strong and engaged and inspired when you're doing. And then the idea is you take that feeling, and then if you put it more into your life, you can maximize it and become even more you can just take advantage of what you're good at and then become more effective. So for futurist and activator, they kind of go hand in hand. My strength statements are I feel strong when I talk about possibilities for the future that exist only in my imagination and sense that I can bring them to life. And I feel strong when I generate enthusiasm in others so they become almost as eager as me to transform an idea into something tangible. And Strength Finders was really beneficial to me because it was nice to have it spelled out in writing. A lot of what I read resonated with me, and I think on some level I knew I'm a futurist and activator, but I didn't know it consciously. And I had been making decisions based on this strength and creating situations where I used these skills, but I didn't know that's what I was doing. What Strength Finders did is it took these abstract feelings that I'd been having and turned it into something concrete and tangible, and it provided me with a vocabulary so I could now articulate the strength to myself and others. And from this, I kind of take away that I hope to consciously look for opportunities now where I can use my futurist activator strengths, where I can have more opportunities where I get to talk about the future and plan things and make my ideas come to life. So identifying that was a really big step in making that a bigger part of how I interact with the world. Another strength is learner, which is actually my number one strength, and my statement for that is I feel strong when I gain insights from my mistakes and ponder what I can revise, correct, or upgrade. And what was really interesting about this strength to me, what I kind of took away from it, was that it really explains why I act in a certain way and others don't. A perfect example of this is in my English class. Our teacher asked us halfway through the term to take a moment to reflect on half a year's worth of English and write down what went well for us and what we could improve on. Make a plus delta list. And I just loved doing this and really liked thinking about what I could do better for the next half of the term. And I wanted to incorporate this in every aspect of my life and make plus delta lists for everything I was involved in. And what I couldn't figure out is why everyone else didn't want to do the same thing, because I was so interested in it. But reading that I'm a learner is my number one strength, it kind of dawned on me like, oh, that's why I like that so much. And other people who don't have learner as their first strength, that's probably why they're not into plus delta lists as much as I am. So it kind of helped me recognize my strengths, but then appreciate other differences as well. And I think that's the first step in opening the door to like a collaborative climate where I can do what I'm best at, and then other people can use their strengths, and then together you can create something more powerful than anyone could have done individually. Another strength is discipline, and my statement for that is I feel strong when I accomplish tasks in an orderly, efficient manner and create daily rituals or repetitious patterns of behavior to make progress. And what was really interesting to me about this strength is when I was reading the description, a lot of it resonated with me, and especially about how I really like order and structure and having a plan to follow. But even though I have this internal drive to be disciplined, I realize that I haven't set up my life to facilitate this strength. I don't really create routines for myself. But with some of the tips that Strength Finder recommends, I can keep that and the fact that this is a strength, knowing that, I can keep that in mind, and now I want to embrace this instead of stifling it and then use it to my advantage. So I hope to, now that I know this about myself, I can make changes in my life to really make it a bigger part of what I do, and then hopefully once I facilitate that I can become even more effective. And the last strength I want to talk about is responsibility. And the strength statement I came up with is I feel strong when I do things right and fulfill my commitments according to what I hold to be true, proper, and accurate. And one of the things that StrengthsFinder will do in the report is they provide pitfalls and kind of what to watch out for. And one that they suggested for me as a responsibility was learn to manage your responsibility talents by selectively choosing to take on responsibility in only the areas that matter to you most. Defer your existing responsibilities and goals before undertaking additional burdens, as you may end up skimping on quality if you have too many tasks or competing demands. And this was really eye-opening to me because I didn't know that responsibility was one of my strengths, and I had taken on way too much and created a situation where I couldn't maximize this strength, and it left me doing things poorly, and it kind of really messed me up internally because there was this conflict of what I felt this drive to do. I wanted to do everything right according to what I hold to be true, but I had too many competing demands that I couldn't do that. And this tip helped me realize that not only is it okay, but it's really beneficial, especially for me not to take on too much, and just to take a moment to say, I need to take a step back and pour myself into one or two things and not spread myself too thin. And this really affected the way I handle my commitments. And I just had way too many things I was involved in. And what was interesting is after reading this, and there's a couple other forces in my life kind of telling me the same thing, I decided to relieve some of my commitments for the next couple weeks because 2 weeks from today, actually, I'll be in India and Nepal studying abroad. And I'm planning this international trip, and I just haven't had the time or energy to really dedicate as much of myself to it as I should, or as I really want to be doing. So I made a couple phone calls and just said, hey, I can't be responsible for a couple of these commitments right now. I just need to take a step back. And luckily my friends were really supportive and said, get your priorities straight. I totally understand. And at first I was really disappointed because I love what I'm a part of and I love everything I do. But it was interesting because 30 minutes maybe after I made a couple phone calls, the disappointment faded away and it felt like a huge burden had been lifted. And once I had just space in my mind to actually think about my upcoming trip, ideas started to flow again, and I was inspired and engaged and thinking of new things I could be doing and ways to make this program even better. And I felt alive and invested in this thing I had been putting so much work into. And so what I should have been doing all along, but I didn't have enough time or energy to do so. And it was the StrengthsFinders that made it clear to me that as a responsibility, strength, I just needed to clear my mind a little bit so I would have enough energy to pour myself into something. And for that, I'm thankful that was made clear to me. So I guess my biggest takeaway from this entire process is just kind of be who you are and embrace what you're good at, and take that and make it a part of your life and create situations where you can really facilitate that and kind of run with it so it'll thrive. And I just want to say thank you to StrengthsFinders for making all of this apparent to me. I obviously learned quite a lot from this process, and thanks to Mr. Squires and the TED class and everyone in it for supporting me with this, and thanks to you for watching this. I hope you found value in what I had to say. I learned a lot, and I'm happy I got to share it with you, so thanks.